It's gnarly, right? So welcome everybody. We're going to be talking with Sanja Tomasevic today. Sanja guided the Sun Devils to a 17-14 record in her third season last year, her best Pac-12 finish since 2015. Before that, she was the ASU assistant in 2016. And before that, she worked as an assistant at the University of Miami and also at the University of Texas San Antonio as an assistant coach. She had a very successful 8-year pro career in Europe that was preceded by 4 years at the University of Washington, where she won a national championship in 2005 and was in the NCAA tournament all 4 years that she went there. She is going to talk to us today about overcoming adversity, both personal and working with teams. And one of the things we're going to talk about and start off with is she was born in Serbia. And Sanja, I want you to kind of take some people back a little bit and talk about what it was like growing up in Serbia at that time.
Hi, everyone. Good to hear you all here, and it's been my pleasure to finally show up in front of all of you guys and as many of you guys as I can. I'm sorry I have to leave earlier. It's one of the events with our student athletes, kind of getting them hyped up to come back and kind of do the same thing, survive now so we can thrive later. Yes, I grew up in Serbia, but I do come from mixed background. So my mom is Croatian and my dad is Serbian. So when I say mixed, it's like a little bit different than what they would consider that here. But during the war, war started when I was 11 years old in Serbia, and the war was between Croatia and Serbia. So that was interesting, to say the least. You know, I thought my parents were going to get divorced. You know, I was an 11-year-old kid, wasn't really sure what's happening, and in my mind, my little brain made sense that they would get divorced right there and then and there, and you know, so that was the kind of start of that, you know, whole situation that happened in former Yugoslavia. That's when I was born. I was born in former Yugoslavia, and then, you know, now it's just Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, you know, Montenegro, Macedonia, and Slovenia. So from big old country Yugoslavia, it turns out to be 6 republics. That we used to be 6 republics, but now it's really 6 countries, independent countries right now. So yeah, that's where I grew up, and that's my little background.
And so talk about as a junior, you were playing on some national teams at a really young age.
Yeah, so I started playing volleyball when I was 9 years old, and it was one of those deals like when dad realized that, you know, we were going to be tall and lanky, and he was like, yeah, we can't just have you be tall and lanky for no reason. So he wanted us to get coordinated. He'll tell you he never thought that was going to get us where it did. But I started, like, you know, and he limited it. Like, I wanted to play basketball, and he said no, it had to be a sport with a net in between us and the opponent, which, you know, typical dad, protect my little princess and all that stuff. So, you know, the options were ping pong, tennis, and volleyball. So, you know, we got into volleyball, and, you know, my funny thing is the criteria I was following. I came into a gym and I asked a coach who was our PE teacher, I asked him if I can play volleyball, and he asked me what size shoes do I wear, and I told him 10, and I was 9 years old. And he said, show me your hands, and I showed him my hands. He said, all right, practice at 7 tonight. So that was my tryout. So yeah, it started up then, and it was like twice a week for a minute, and then probably I was 13 years old when it turned into everyday practice, and I got moved into a senior team. And when I was 15 years old, they invited me to go and train with national team coach who was training in the club that was like an hour and a half away from my home. So we got put in a training center over there, my sister and I together, because my dad's only way he was going to let me go is if they take her too, because he didn't want to split us up. So we went over there, and I was 15, she was 14. So that's pretty much when I left my family house, you know. So it was, you know, my mom still tells a story about how I felt like she was giving us up and she was giving us away, you know. And so for her, that was hard, but she realized that we were living our dream, and that was everything to me. Even then, I would cry if they didn't let me go. You know, it was just everything I always wanted to play for national team. And so we ended up going there, and it was tough. You know, my sister didn't want anything to do with any of that. I did. So I knew that if she didn't, then my dad wouldn't let me go either. So I had to convince her to come. So, you know, when I was 15, I pretty much became mom. So part of the deal was, you know, I had to clean the house, I had to cook, I had to do all this stuff in the apartment they gave us, because my sister was like, I didn't sign up for this. Yeah. So I had to do what it takes to, you know, keep her there so she wouldn't go home, and then my dad would pull me home too. So yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And it was, you know, it's kind of like, to me, when kids say they're burned out from volleyball, it's kind of like is the love and a passion for volleyball there? It's the way it should be, because all the things that I had to do then to play volleyball are a lot different than what most kids have to do nowadays.
Yeah. So the war is going on. You're playing at a team with much older girls. You're having to take care of your sister. And so like early on, you're facing some adversity that like most of our kids can't even imagine, and you're literally 13, 14, 15 years old having to go through this, right? So are you just raised tougher? Are Serbians just tougher? How did this kind of come about?
I don't know if we're raised tougher. I just think we didn't know any different. I felt like pretty blessed that I was in that position. Like I got picked. I was one of the top 5 kids in the country that got picked to do that. My sister and I were 2 out of the top 5 kids. So, I felt privileged. I felt picked. Like when it came time to miss the prom, like that meant I made a national team. So like I didn't want to go to a prom. Like if people would ask me to go to prom, I would get offended, because I'm like, that means I'm not making the national team. What's wrong with you? Like, get away from me. So it was volleyball was everything growing up. And I honestly think the reason why I didn't notice the war was as bad as I realized later on in life, because of reading and like talking to my parents how bad it was. Like I didn't realize that, because volleyball was my safety net, and like school and volleyball, that's all I cared about. I was always a good student, and that's all that mattered to me. And so I really focused, like put all my attention into that. And and I don't know, like I said, I never got burned out. It just like the fire got bigger and bigger for volleyball. So it was always something that I couldn't wait. Like you couldn't kick me out of the gym. So yeah.
Did the war ever brush up against your family? Did your mom or dad ever have any issues? Was your town ever, I don't know, bombed or attacked or anything like that, or was it kind of away from you?
So the war started in 91, and it started originally in Slovenia and Croatia, and then it kind of started moving east. And my mom is from Croatia, and so her family lives in Dubrovnik in Croatia. And so like my uncles, my mom has 2 brothers, and my uncles they got, old men that were over 18 got recruited to go back to the army. So they both got pulled in, and so did my dad. So at some point, like nothing was happening in my hometown. Like in Serbia, we got bombed in 99, but like from 91 to 99, nothing was physically happening on our land, minus, inflation, stagnation, sanctions, the empty shelves in the stores we see right now. That's kind of like what was happening all these years, so however, my parents did such a good job of making that kind of like not making us not feel that. So, when everything started happening here, I called my mom immediately for the recipes that she had, when we were growing up, because I never felt like we were missing anything. I always felt like there was abundance of food, there was abundance. And so, she shared some recipes just in case, we run out of, necessities here. But my mom and dad did a good job kind of sheltering us, making us feel like none of that is happening. But I do remember waking up in the middle of the night and seeing my mom just pacing up and down in the hallway and smoking her cigarette, the European style, and just stressed out. And it's like, what's going on? And she's trying to get connected with her family in Croatia that she hasn't heard from for a month, to hear if they're alive and if they need anything, because that everything was happening in Croatia. So and there were times when my dad would go in the war, and he would be in the war for like, he would be on front for like a couple months, and
Wow.
him and my uncles potentially could have gone at each other. We don't know, because everybody has helmets on, everybody has their duties. My dad, however, was in the last line of defense. Not, he worked his way up when he was in the military, so that was a blessing. So, but thankfully, we didn't lose anybody in the war from either side. And I always thank God for that, because I can imagine how that can make people angry and not understanding.
Yeah. I just want to remind all the attendees that if you guys have questions, just go ahead and post them, and we'll try to get to them as quick as we can. So Jim McLaughlin at University of Washington wants Sanja to come play for him. How did that all happen? And talk about like the adversity that you had to come to an entirely different culture, a new language, a new place. Talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a super long story, so I'm gonna try to make it like short. But like I wanted to go to, university was super important to me. I always kind of knew that as much as I loved volleyball, I knew that was going to end. And I don't know where I got that wisdom from. Like, when you're 18 and everybody's throwing money at you and like saying, you can make pro money. I have no idea where that came from, but I thought, universities must. So I wanted to go to America in 99. That's the year I graduated from high school. However, 99, March 24th of 99, we got bombed. Serbia got bombed. And I was at home with my sister watching a movie, and I will never forget this. Like, we're watching a movie, and then just like, emergency warning comes up, something like on the TV, and we think it's a part of the movie, so it's like, you don't, you're 18 and 17, like things don't just connect. And they're telling us pretty much if our government doesn't step down, which is our communist government, if they don't step down, in such and such time, the bombs will come because NATO and America are coming to bomb our government, our country. So my sister and I were like, is this, what's going on? So immediately we get a call from our dad, and he's like, all right, so you follow the elderly, wherever everybody else is going in the building, just follow them. In the meantime, go to a store and buy necessities. So my sister goes to a store and comes back with all the necessities, like chips, chocolate, orange juice, because that's a necessity for like a 17-year-old, because nobody prepares you again for that stuff. That time we thought that's a necessity. So that's kind of how everything started. And my SAT was set up for May. Like most foreigners, we take our SAT in May. And so that, shortly after that, we realized that embassies closed. I couldn't take SAT. That got everything got postponed. Actually, our school ended like shortly after that. They said whatever grades you had, that's what you're gonna have for like a final grade. So people didn't have a chance to take finals, any of that. So it was just really, really weird time. So kind of similar to what's happening right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is weird. March, so it's kind of very, very similar to that. So it's kind of having a deja vu. So yeah, and then so I didn't at that time. We didn't have a connection. I didn't have connection with GEM. It was some other universities I was talking to. And then when everything like got reopened, and actually embassy wasn't reopened, but there was a testing center I could go to and take a test in. I did, and that was in 2002. So quite a bit later, 3 years later. I took a test, and I was gonna go to some university in Midwest, like small school in D2, and Tim Kelly actually reached out to me and asked me to share my information with him, and I did. And before you know it, I had like a lot of schools reaching out, and it was really cool. And I connected with Jim and some other coaches, and I really, really, really. At first, I thought that I was like, this guy, because I was asking if I would play if I come to America, because most of us Europeans, we think volleyball in America is not good in college because priority is school, therefore volleyball is not good. That's kind of what they teach us from young age. So I was convinced that volleyball is not good, and I was like, well, am I going to play? Am I going to start? And he was like, well, I can't promise you that. I was like, forget this guy, So I told my parents I was going to another school, and my dad said, why? And all that time they didn't care where I go. They said, we'll support you wherever you decide to go. And I told him, and my dad was so upset with me because he was like, this guy's telling you what you want to hear, and the other guy's telling you the truth. None of them know you. You want the guy who's going to tell you the truth, blah, blah, blah. And so I gave Jim another chance. We started talking again. And then another girl from Serbia was actually going there that year. And that kind of was like, she lived 2 hours away from me. And her dad, when he found out I was getting recruited, he was like, all right. So they sat in the car, drove to our house, and we spent about 6 hours that day together with our families. And it was super fun. And I got to know her really well in the next 4 years. And she's one of my best friends till this day. So yeah. Big reason why I went over there.
So the language is different, the culture is different. You're dealing with, kids that haven't been through anything like what you've been through growing up. How do you handle this? How do you deal with this? How do you kind of meld into this?
Yeah, it was a huge adjustment. Not gonna lie, it was a huge adjustment coming to a country where like you don't speak the language, but like your teammates, I had 2 teammates with brand new cars, BMW and like Benz or something like that, and I was like, who gave you that? And they were like, oh, my parents. And I'm like, why? They're like, I deserved it. And I said, what did you do to deserve a brand new car? They're like, I got a scholarship. And I'm like, okay, so that's kind of your job. But, it was just a different culture. And then Washington at that time, we were not in a good place, culture wise. It was a Jim's second year rebuilding. We were his first recruiting class. It was nothing like Washington now or Washington when we were done, with my senior year. It was a really challenging gym to be in. And I remember, he told me we're going to win national championship in 4 years. So I was like, okay, cool. Again, I don't know anything about level of volleyball in America. So, I go to his to practices, and about a weekend I go back to his office and I'm like, listen, I don't know much about anything about volleyball in America, but this team is not winning a championship or anything. Like, I don't know what. He's like, I'm not saying this year. He said it's going to happen next 4 years. And was he right or was he right? The guy knows. He's for me, he's a Yoda of volleyball. I love that guy. I trust everything he says when it comes to volleyball, building a team. And he's proven to me as a player that came in as kind of suspicious about everything. He's proven to me it can be done. And he's somebody I have a ton of respect for.
So you said coming in, you've got a pretty damaged culture at UW, and in 4 years, you guys are winning a national championship. So can you talk about what he did, or maybe was it some of the players he brought in? Like, talk about how that culture changed.
I mean, it was a mix. I would say, like, he focused a lot on volleyball, and he always tells me, like, you can teach culture and everything through volleyball. He's really not a huge proponent on any of the, like, psychology stuff or anything like that. Just teach volleyball. You can teach culture through that. I also think it was a mix of, like, me being older and wiser, like, kind of like in the sense, like, we think about a senior, like being a sophomore, just different, or a freshman. And then, Courtney Thompson was just unbelievable coming in as a freshman. Her mindset is like that's, I haven't even met anybody, and I traveled the world with her mindset. She's unreal. And, the two of us, with help with like a lot of other girls who had a chip on their shoulder. Jim recruited really well. Jim, Pat, Tui, they recruited really well. They kind of had a type of a kid. They wanted a kid that kind of wanted to prove themselves. So it was really cool. I mean, first 2 years, that's kind of kid they were recruiting. And then we went to Elite 8. And once you're in Elite 8, life becomes easier. We were able to get some, top 5 recruits in the country. She was a local kid. And at that point, kind of we knew, hey, we made it. It's gonna be a lot easier because the kids are looking at us different.
Yeah. I want to unlock Courtney's mindset a little bit. I've heard her talk a lot, but you don't hear a lot of her teammates talking about her. What is it about her and her mindset that's like that is a game changer?
She's just like, she's relentless. Like, everything she does, she's just amazing at it. It's like, if she's telling a joke, there's nobody that's going to tell a joke better than Courtney. If she is teaching a class, same thing. If she's playing volleyball, same thing. As a teammate, like when she first came on, we're kind of like a little annoyed with her because we've never experienced anything like that. Somebody who gave so much like she did. Like, I mean, this girl had her alarm set on when she's eating almost. Like, she didn't have, like she would be in the middle of a class and you can hear somebody unwrapping something and Courtney's eating a bar because it's time to eat. Her body fat was insane. I mean, like, percentage was insane. Like, everything she did was elite. And that same was in the classroom. She was a 4.0 student. And, we would work out in the 2 days. We would have a workout and 2 practices, in preseason. And she would go and work out after second practice. And, to the point where we felt like we were not worthy because of the way how she was behaving. So finally she had to sit us down and be like, listen, I'm not 6'1". I have to find somewhere else, So, like, you guys do what you have to do. I'll do what I have to do. Leave me alone, pretty much, So wow. Her drive is unmatched. It's unbelievable. And, she's somebody that I attribute a lot of Washington success to, because she was truly like a leader at early age, which was impressive.
So you win a national championship in 2005. Talk about that team and maybe talk about that season. What was there something, did you know going in it was just something special, or did things happen towards the end of the season? What happened in that season?
No, we knew we were going to win championship that year. I know that sounds crazy right now, but like, we went to the year before that, we went to semifinals and we lost to Stanford in semifinals. And, we went back, like, we went to a press conference, and I remember sitting in a press conference and one of the journalists asked me, so, pretty much like, I'm not sure how he worded it, but sounded like this. Sanja, how does it feel like to have the worst match of your college career the last night of your college career? Because originally I was given 3 years of eligibility. So that was my last match, losing to Stanford in semifinals. And like, all I wanted to say to that guy was I did all I could, but I didn't. Like, I went home to Serbia for 3 weeks that year and I didn't do anything. Like, I mean, maybe it worked out 2 days. And I was like, well, I'll just get back to, Washington, and we'll do it, to Seattle, and we'll get to it. And it was like, it was weighing on me so heavy. I couldn't say it to the guy, but Jim jumped on him and said, oh, are you kidding me right now? Like, so Jim diverted the question from me. But, I came to a locker room and, I was sobbing, and, everybody's like feeling sad for me because there's 7 of us that came in that class, and I was the only one that had 3 years of eligibility. So I was done. And so everybody was like hugging me, and I was like, just make me a promise that you will do whatever it takes. You're not going to take days off. And then I apologized for taking 3 weeks off. And then everybody confessed about their 3 weeks off too. And so we made a commitment that season starts tomorrow. Like, we made a commitment that tomorrow is the day when we're going to, start a road to national championship for next year. Me, like, I had to do it all on my own because Jim wanted me kind of to move and do things on my own, because we appealed to NCAA because of the war. Everything was postponed for me because of the war. So they told me the chances were really low, but they told me there were chance 2%. So I was like, I'll take it. So I stayed ready with our strength coach. I did whatever it takes. I played with my teammates in open gym. I played with my teammates in grass volleyball, beach volleyball, all that stuff. And it was May. It was like towards the end of May, and they called. Actually, I was in a training room getting ice, and Jim called me, and he was like, Sanja T, we got it. And I said, we got what? He was like, we got it back. And, it took me a minute to realize. And, from that moment on, it was like, that's it. It's happening. And, there were doubts, and people thought about, Nebraska doing it and some other teams being the team, but we knew we were the team that year.
Wow. After that, you go back to Europe. You play professional volleyball for 8 years to a lot of success. Can you talk about that, going back home?
Yeah, so I went first to Puerto Rico, like actually 7 days after this. Like, so it was kind of like this, one of those moments, like we win national championship, and that was the whole purpose of my life for that whole year. Everything else was like a bog. Volleyball was it. And so now we're sitting there, and there's a national championship trophy, and in my mind I'm like, oh my God, what now? What? It's like, so you go to the press conference, and right shortly after that, there's agents calling, have contracts on the table, and so I signed the contract to go to Puerto Rico. I played there for 4 months, and it like really was a vacation. I'm not gonna lie. So then from there, I go to come back to Washington. I graduate, and then I go to Korea, which was opposite of a vacation. So that was really challenging, and probably the biggest challenge I've ever had in my life, those 5 months. And then after that, I thought about quitting volleyball. That's how bad it was. I thought about quitting volleyball, and it took me about 2.5 months to like say, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot again. I'm in Europe. I'm gonna try it here, and I did. And I played in Switzerland for 1 season, 2 years in Greece, which was an amazing experience in Greece. Fans over there are crazy about volleyball. If you guys have a chance, look it up. Check out, Panathinaikos. I'll type it here so you guys can look at it. Panathinaikos volleyball fans. They are amazing, and like they will follow volleyball, which to me was amazing because volleyball was their life. Everybody was volleyball. Our gym was packed, and we were like in the sense celebrities. I wasn't paying for coffee or bakery items or anything like that, and because everybody was so obsessed with our team. So it was really cool. From there, I went to Azerbaijan for 1 season. I was good. I had a interesting coach, a Russian old dude. So that was interesting. And then from there, I went to Italy and played in Italy for 2 seasons, and that was amazing. My only wish I always wanted to go to was Brazil. That didn't get fulfilled. So yeah, that's kind of my career. And it was interesting. In Italy, it was first time in my career that I was actually playing on the bottom of the league. And I got hired like towards the end of their season to like help these teams stay in the league. And it was completely new experience for me because all the other times I played for the top of the league, and it was kind of like, you're going for semifinals and finals, and here am I like they're celebrating you for like saving them from not dropping out of the league. It was kind of weird, but definitely amazing experience. It's just kind of like how people found joy in those things too. So it was interesting to see that.
Yeah. So you wanted to come back to America to coach though?
Yeah, I lived in a lot of countries, like I just said, a lot of countries. And, when I say these seasons, like, I mean, seasons are anywhere from like, Korea 5 months to, in Greece, you're talking about 9.5, 10 month season. So I lived in these countries for a long time. And again, I was blessed to live in some cool places like Switzerland and all that stuff. But I definitely, America is the land of opportunity and the country where I wanted to raise my kids one day, if I had kids, and now I do. And, I always told my family that I couldn't know that there's a country like that in the world, and I don't give that as opportunity to my kids. So I wanted to come back to America. I do love American people. I love the way how there's opportunity here for athletes for volleyball. So always forever going to be grateful for that opportunity myself. And so just kind of thought it was a time for me to give back because of all these amazing people that have impacted my life since I was 15. So I thought, let's just try it and, maybe a couple of years so I can give back, and then I can jump into something more lucrative. and then here I am doing this still and loving it.
So you spent 2 years at the University of Texas, San Antonio. Then you went to the University of Miami for 2 years. In 2016, you're hired as the assistant coach at ASU. Mm-hmm. One of the most tumultuous seasons ASU's ever had. At the end of it, they come to you and ask you if you want to coach the team after they let the coach go. It's 2016. You are the youngest coach in the Pac-12. You're one of only 3 women in the Pac-12. You are one of just a handful of female coaches in the Big 5 power conferences for volleyball. First of all, why did you say yes? And second of all, what are you thinking after you took that job?
Oh my goodness. So I thought that was just like a courtesy interview, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't think they were going to give me a job. Like, they interviewed me like they interviewed other people, and I had to prepare for that, like everything else. But I did have insight in the program because I was there. So I knew these girls the best, and I knew what was happening the best. So, when you're fixing something, like, you have to know the issue before you can fix it. So I think that was my advantage, and the fact that I had connections with the girls and understood university, and I still don't know why they gave me the job. I did accept it because of the kids. I don't think I've ever said this out loud anywhere, but I accepted it because of kids, because I couldn't have walked away from the athletes that were staying committed to us, because most of them I was involved in recruiting process, and so I felt like I can't bail on them. And there was a lot of conversation from them, kind of like, hey, you have to take it, you have to take it, you have to take it. And it was just kind of like, all these things you just said, like, I was one of the 3 coaches in the Pac-12, one of the few in the Power 5. And, all that was burden. All that was like, oh my God, what do I do with this? So talking to Jim, went back to Jim, and he would always say, first things first, one thing at a time, and so, he made me like just write things down, make it simple, don't overthink, don't get emotions involved, just, you want it, you take it, and now these are things you got to do. And so, hiring the right staff, people that believe in the same system I believe in, and then investing in culture and putting my ego aside and, my winning mentality of somebody who, who won this and this and that, none of that matters because I'm not on the court. Winning on the court is not everything. And it's so hard for me, for a competitor, to say that, because for the longest time I thought that's all it matters. The winning on the court was everything. And then, I went through that season, and then I realized winning on the court is not everything. It's you can lose a life and win on the court, and that's not a game I want to play. So, I had to put my ego aside, and God, I got pregnant right shortly after that. I had my daughter, and it's the biggest blessing. I had her in the middle of a season, and we went 0-20 my first year as a head coach, and that was, but it was okay because I put my ego on the side way before that. So that's why it was okay. But, like, even till this day, when I say that, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, oh, that was rough. But, we came close a lot of times, and, you were around, and some of these guys were around too. We came close, and we had Washington here. I remember that it was the second match of the Pac-12. We had them up. We were up 2-0 on them, and we're up in the third set, and we lose. And then, I realized even more that season when we had we had so many close games that we could have won. We were up 23-17 and we lose 26-24 against Utah here. It's just like crazy things like that. So, and then I realized really culture is everything, you know, and we knew that coming in, like, you know, as a staff, but that reiterated everything, you know, like you, especially with new generation, like they want to see that you care. They want to see that you're in with them. And my coaches cared for me. They just showed it to me differently. I have to show this to these kids a little bit more affectionate, a little bit more hands-on, and maybe because I'm a female and they expect that. I don't know, but it's different. And I was willing to change that, and I was willing to invest, and I feel like it's paying off. And more importantly, the kids are happy, and the kids are, you know, enjoying themselves and loving volleyball. And you know, we're competing. We're competing with the pack.
Yeah. Well, you kind of skimmed through it a little bit, but I'm really curious about this. So, like you said, you went 0-20 in the Pac-12 that season. You give birth to your daughter in the middle of the season in October. It's a very, very rough season. It's after a really rough season. And the girls on that team, you have to get them to buy in and say, okay, we're going to turn this around. So talk about culture. So give me some specifics. What were some of the things that you did to turn that around? In literally in just 1 year, because the next year, I think you won a few, I think you won 5, but your record.
Won 5 in Pac-12.
Yeah, and I think it was 14-17 that year, I think was the record. So you were hovering around 500. So what you did around? What was the culture that the steps you took in your culture?
So we just kept like, so when we had these times when we talked about just life, you know, like getting to know each other, investing in each other, so you could build trust. They wanted to trust again. They didn't trust anyone, you know, and they wanted to trust again. And that wasn't going to happen because I said so. You know, that wasn't going to happen because I'm a head coach, even though, you know, that was another thing, you know, moving from assistant coaching chair to like head coaching chair. Like I was the same person. I was the person that they wanted to be there. And now like they're running away from me. And I'm like, wait, time out. You know, I stayed because you wanted me to stay. And now you don't even want to like, you know, talk about these problems. And so it was interesting. We did, like Eric, we had so many, I mean, we did volleyball, but we spent so much time just like they would come to my office and we would hang out and talk life, talk volleyball, you know, when it's time to talk volleyball. But, you know, mostly it was just getting to know each other and getting to know each other as people. And, you know, this year when we had our seniors who were freshmen, that my first year as an assistant coach, there were seniors and they were sitting in my office and, you know, they're leaning back and they're like, oh my God, I would have done it all over again, you know, and that's all you want to hear as a head coach. You know, it's just kind of like it was all worth it. They've learned the lessons they needed to learn, and it was hard, but it was worth it. And so for me, there was no shortcut. There was no shortcut. I never stopped teaching volleyball that I wanted to teach. It was the same. I taught the same volleyball this past year that I taught the year before that. I needed to recruit better athletes. I need to invest in the kids that I had. They need to get trust back, and you know, within their coaches, and that's all. That was the magic that was our recipe. So
yeah. So literally 2 years out of an 0-20 Pac-12 seasons this past year, sorry, you go 17-15. You finish 8th in the pack, and literally, I mean, I don't even know, you were so close to the NCAA tournament. I don't know if you were the last team out, but you were certainly really, really close. I know it was a pretty disappointing time because I think everybody kind of thought you might get in. But so from that 0-20 to here, you're obviously going in the right direction. You're getting better athletes. Things are starting to turn around for you. So looking ahead, expectations of ASU and their coach. What are you going to ask yourself to do more of in order to keep this going in the right direction and keep the culture the way you want it? What's ahead?
Well, we keep investing in our culture. That's like something that, you know, never stops. And, you know, you're always going to have culture, and if you, either it's going to be good or bad, you know, so we want it to be good. We want to have a control on what's happening. And then, you know, right now, what's on the agenda is like, let's have a season. Okay, can Corona just stop so we can have a season? But, you know, next thing for us is making the NCAA tournament, you know, making the tournament. You know, I don't think we were the first team out of the Pac-12. It was Cal for sure. They got robbed. And then, you know, I thought we should have been considered over some teams, but, you know, the RPI is RPI and it is what it is. And so we don't control it. And hopefully one day we're going to move away from it, but that's another story for another time. Yeah, we just keep on investing and then recruiting. We want to recruit athletes that can compete in the Pac-12. We want to recruit kids that we can coach to do things that we want them and need them to do to compete against Stanford and Washington and Utah and USC and Arizona. It's like we want to make sure that we get those kids and there's so many good kids in Arizona and we need to start getting those here. And Shannon Shields is with us right now, and she's one of the best setters that came out of state. So I hope that's going to help us, getting some local kids. I think the biggest concern is, I don't want to stay so close home and all that stuff. And hopefully they can see that Shannon is having a good time and it's a great experience. So hopefully that will help later on.
Yeah. We got about 4 minutes left, so I want to tie this all together because literally your entire story is just overcoming adversity after adversity after adversity from really childhood to UW and pro everything. So what is it? What do you teach your kids, or how do you teach your kids to overcome adversity? What do you tell them? How do you get them to handle it?
I talked about this the other day in one of the other podcasts. Some of them might have heard me say this before, but you say adversity, adversity. I see opportunity, opportunity. I think, life is what you see it, and so if people like look at it and go and focus on the things they have versus focusing on the things they don't have, life is a lot better. And so, there are times where I would fall into that, like, oh my God, I wish I had more money in my budget. I wish I had this recruit. But look at this. I have this and I have that. And so I always try to play that game with myself and my staff and my players. Let's focus on what we have. Let's stop focusing on what we don't have. And so, we can't change what anybody else does. What we can do is we can change, we can control how we act and what we do. So that's been my mindset. I think, to summarize, that's been my mindset since I was little. I didn't know that's what it was, but now looking at it, that's exactly what it was. Just, I saw all those things as opportunity, obviously not war, but everything else was opportunity. So, it is what it is. There's opportunity to learn from everything. And, I hope to continue learning, and I'm going to deal whatever life throws my way. So.
And is this what you're telling your kids now during the virus and all this uncertainty? You're kind of telling them the same thing?
Yeah, that's exactly what we talk about. It's we're blessed to have this conversation. It's like there are a lot of kids out there not even having this conversation. Let's talk about class of 2022. Let's talk about class of 21. Like there's so many. We're blessed. You have a scholarship. You have a team to be on. So let's just be happy about that. So let's talk about things we do have. And there's a book out there that we're reading, and it's called It Takes What It Takes. So I would recommend that book. It's pretty cool. And so, yeah, it takes what it takes. So let's focus on what you have instead of what you don't have.
All right, we got 2 more minutes. Give me 3 things that Arizona club coaches and high school coaches can do to help you get Pac-12 recruitable athletes. What can we do better?
Well, come to our gym, like see what we're doing, don't just make assumptions, like that we are, something we used to be. And so I think give us a chance, give us, and I mean, I'll say give U of A a chance too, like this. I think there's no reason why these kids shouldn't stay in our state. I can't understand why some of these kids would go away, like Pacific Northwest schools would take our kids. And it's like, I was there and I know this is better. So, I mean, give us a chance. I would say, as far as competitiveness goes, I think we're having one of the most competitive regions. I really like what we do as far as like having our 17s compete with 18s and 16s, all that stuff. That's really cool. I enjoy watching that, and it's fun. I've been to a lot of gyms. I like the way we train. I say, educate yourself, open doors to us. I know they all want us to get to know them. I would say you get to know us as well, so you can give us a chance. It's not always what it seems.
Okay. If coaches want to contact you, what's the best way to contact you?
My email is sanja.tomasevic@asu.edu. When our practices start, we have open gym policy. You guys are more than welcome to come, unless you're wearing U of A shirt. Yeah, it's open door policy. Like if you want to stop by the office, chat, hang out, unless we're working on scouting or watching a film with a player. We really want to be available to you guys, so we can, share ideas. We learn a lot from you guys too. There's a lot of good volleyball minds out in the community. So it's not like, it doesn't have to be one of those deals where you come in to educate yourself. You can help us educate ourselves too. So yeah, open door policy, email us, text us, let us know.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much. Those of you that came late, again, I apologize. Sonja's got another event she has to go to, so we have to cut this one a little short. If you would like me to ask her back, shoot me an email or shoot me a little note on the thing here, and we'll get her scheduled again. But Sanja, thank you for your time. Attendees, thank you for attending. And like I said, Thursday is Ken Murphy, and Monday is Dave Rubio, sorry. And we will join those guys later. So Sanja, thank you very much, and head to your next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Go Devils, guys.